Okay.
Oh, there we go. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is I'm Celine again. I didn't put an introduction to the last one, so I figure people can figure out who I am. And this is Valerie B. Williams, author of Pickled Pig from Not Just a Pretty Face, Women of Horror Volume 1. And welcome, thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
So I was kind of thinking about Pickled Pig, and I was thinking about the characters there. I think that's really a story about characters. And okay, I'm sorry, everybody in that story is an absolute irredeemable piece of crap. Do
Well,
you?
Susan's not so bad. She's kind of a doormat, but yeah. The others are pretty bad.
Yeah. I mean, even the kid who you want to redeem kicks the dog. I mean, what kind of a dick does that, right?
Well, yeah, apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
So I always try to create characters that you're going to care about, because when something bad happens to them, you want to care. But you kind of went in the opposite
Mhm.
direction.
Yeah, they didn't really have a lot of redeeming social qualities. But yeah, the whole story is kind of karma. What goes around comes around, and so yeah, I always get a certain amount of satisfaction from bad guys getting their comeuppance, and so this was definitely a bad guy getting his comeuppance, even though he tried to change desperately at the last minute. Too little, too late.
Yeah,
Yeah. Too bad.
yeah. It's because you're kind of reading along and you're thinking, oh my goodness, and then that little stinger in the tail is just really what makes the story. I really enjoyed that. So.
Oh, good. Good.
All right. So in addition to your story and Not Just a Pretty Face, what about writing horror draws you?
Well, I've always been a huge reader. That's probably my mother swore that was, I mean, I'm sure this is an old wives' tale. She swore that was how I ruined my eyes, because I was reading in bad light, and that's why I was the first person in my family to be nearsighted and need glasses. So I was constantly reading. But I always, from the time I was in my mid to late teens, I kind of gravitated to horror. Um, and yeah, I just kind of went from there. So that was kind of what I read. So when I went to start writing, I took a couple of workshops and basic classes to make sure I wasn't, you know, make sure I was putting sentences and paragraphs together correctly. Um, but a lot of the writing courses and workshops are literary, and so I tried to horn into that category, and I was never comfortable in that category, writing literary fiction. Even my literary fiction came out dark. I have one short story that I've been shopping around for a while that is not technically a horror story. I consider it literary, but it's pretty damn dark. So yeah. But finally, I decided, after probably about, I guess, when I kind of went out of writing for about 10. I worked really hard at it I'm a late bloomer, for starters. I didn't start writing until I was in my 40s, and I worked at it for about 5 years ish. And then a lot of stuff happened in life, and I basically set it aside for 10 years. And Pickled Pig, I actually wrote before I set it aside, and then revived it. So then when I revived it and got serious about writing again, I was back in workshops, and I was in workshops, that still were in literary category. And I decided I was just going to let my freak flag fly. And I actually workshopped Pickled Pig in my first workshop when I got back into writing. And my instructor literally spilled his coffee on the manuscript when he got to the end. The manuscript he handed back to me had the coffee stain on it from when he got to the end. So I thought that was a good sign.
Ah, yes, very good sign. And how
Yeah.
did those go over? How did the less literary stories go over in the workshop? Otherwise, did you have readers reading them?
Well, Once they realized I was like the horror writer, and not only the horror writer, but God forbid, a female horror writer.
Ooh.
Oh no, never. They kind of got used to me. They kind of started to expect these kind of weird twists and odd things happening to characters and whatnot. So they've gotten used to me. I think they kind of view me as like a a pet or something. But no, actually they've been great. They've really been great. Not nearly as forbidding as I thought they were at first. And I've done some readings. We've done readings, and there's been just a variety of different styles at readings, and I can get up there and do my reading and have it accepted. And I actually met another female horror writer in a workshop there, and now we've become great friends. Quera Sabutu, Dr. Q. I don't know if you know her or know of her, but she lives like 20 miles from me ish.
Yeah. Yeah, we're
And I didn't even
connected
know
on
it. So
Facebook.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's great when you can make new friends in real life. I mean, not
Yes,
I call them my
exactly.
imaginary friends on the internet, but
Yes, yeah.
it's always strange when you actually manage to connect and talk to people and
It's like,
these
oh
are real
yeah, I know
people.
you, but I don't know you.
Yes.
Yeah.
What other books or horror otherwise do you have out there? Just let the audience know a little bit.
Not a ton. Actually, my first professional sale of a short story was in 2018, 2018, 20, no, 2019, I guess. And I sold a short story to American Gothic Short Stories Anthology, Flame Tree Press.
Oh, nice. Those are
That was
great.
my first professional sale, and I was so excited about that. And I got to read that at StokerCon last year.
Amazing.
That was very cool, and I so lucked out. I was in a reading slot with Michael Cieslak and Gwendolyn Keist.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
So I said, hey, yeah, we're going to have an audience because Gwendolyn is there. But the reading went really well, and so that's I like that story. It's called Amazing Patsy, and it's definitely yeah, this one had, yeah, Amazing Patsy has toads. I won't say anything else, but you have to read it. Yep, it has toads. Um, and what else? I had a story about my first sale actually was to a local anthology. I actually won a contest. It won third prize. I almost didn't enter it because it was a literary contest, and I thought they'll never even look at it. And it ended up taking third, so I figured there must not have been a lot of competition. But
Say
I
that.
like
Maybe there
that
was
one.
lots of competition, but
Yeah,
you were just the best.
that's
Or third
right.
best, I should say.
But I really liked that. That was my first anthology sale, and it was about flesh-eating pixies, which I thought was really kind of a charming concept.
That is, yeah, that's strange. I mean, and I'm sure the people reading it were just like, what's this?
Yeah,
But
well,
it works, right?
yeah, well, the best reaction was my father. He kind of gave me this, okay. But my mother was into horror and into those types of things. So, all he said was, well, you're just like your mother. So yeah, but yeah, aside from, and I've got a couple of other shorts out there in different anthologies, that I'm working on a novel right now.
Right.
Actually workshopped the full novel a couple of weeks back, and now I've gotten like a zillion feedbacks. So you love it when you get all these feedbacks, and one tells you this way and one tells you that way, and you're going, okay, well, now what the hell do I do? So
Yeah.
I've got to go back, and I can see where the consensus is where I need to tighten some stuff up. So I'm going to have another whack at it, and then hopefully try and shop it around with a small press. I'm figuring try and go the small press route. Um, I don't think it's like agent and large press material. I figure I need to get my name out there first. But it's really odd how the success I've had with short stories, I haven't been able to do squat with magazines,
Yeah.
e-zines or anything. I mean, I've submitted a ton, and I've gotten some really kind feedback, and I've gotten some personalized rejections. But for some reason the anthology slot seems to stick versus the magazines, and I don't know what it is. Probably just
Yeah.
coincidence.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's any magical formula, just do your best work and send it out, right? I mean, if you ask any author, they'll tell you the same thing, that there's no advice they can give, because there's no magic pill that is going to
Yeah.
work. And
Yeah, depends on who's reading slush that day.
yeah, sometimes, yeah. And well, I can tell you from the point of view of someone who has read slush, and I always tell authors first thing first, whenever anybody says, what advice would you give? Read slush, read slush, read slush, because it shows you, kind of what you're up against. It shows you the other authors who might not be, ready to publish. You do get, in probably 250 stories, you might only get maybe 3 that make you go, yes, I want this story. But you do
Yep.
also get a sense of the tone of the stories, how the anthology or the work is going to sort of, just the general feel of it. And so that makes your own writing better after a while.
Mhm.
So that's why I always say, if you get a chance to read slush, do.
Yeah. Well, one thing that helped me a lot with writing, and tightened up my writing a lot, is that I survived 2 Borderlands boot camps.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 2018 and 2019. I skipped last year. I figured, okay, I did 2 in a row. I'm going to take a break. It's fairly intense, and I figured I made progress, because what was it? Tom Monteleone said on my first one that my story had an idiot plot, and then I graduated the next year to a noble failure. So,
Wow.
I figured, hey, I made some
Doesn't mince
progress.
words, does he?
High praise indeed.
Well, it sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, I've never been to one of the really, big things or anything. Any of the workshopping I've done was with beta readers, but yeah, but I got my start in college poetry. So if you've ever, I mean, if you want harsh critics, turn your poetry over to students. I tell you.
Poetry scares the hell out of me. I can't write that short.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. I find some things, though, I just, the fewer words, the better. And other things, you want more and more words, right?
Right. No, I struggled to transition from shorts to novel. I think my first love is always going to be shorts.
Yeah.
I'm working on the novel now because, I'd like to, I'm not going to make money at this, but I'd like to get some recognition at it. So it's hard to do much with shorts if you want to get, I can't come out of the gate. Well, very few people can come out of the gate with a collection. Krista Carmen did, but she's Krista Carmen. So you kind of almost have to do the novel first, and then they say, hey, do you have any stories? Then you can put your collection out.
Yeah.
So the novel's been fun. It's been a learning experience. And from everything I've heard, you never write the same. It's never the same process. You can't get it down to where it's rote, unless you're somebody like Tim Waggoner, who just cranks them out. Tim was my mentor. I did the HWA mentorship program as well, and I was really lucky I got Tim Waggoner as a mentor. And,
yeah, that's a great program.
He's a machine. Yeah.
Yeah,
Tim
that's
just
a great.
cranks them out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good program too. I'm glad
It
that
is.
the HWA offers it for newer writers to get
It's
the
fabulous.
feedback. Yeah.
No, it really, seriously, it got me into social. I didn't even have a Facebook account before then. I didn't have business. I didn't have squat, and so I had a lot of catching up to do. And so Tim kind of, got me pointed me in the right direction on all that. And so now I've gotten into at least a little social networking and going to cons and whatnot. And it's great. It's helped a lot with finding the opportunities to submit.
Yeah.
They're not out there unless you really look for them. And if you've got a network, then you can find them.
Well, I'm going to say, as the administrator on Facebook of a number of call for submissions groups, they are out there. And also the Horror Tree is a really good resource for that if you're looking for that sort of thing. I volunteer at the Horror Tree doing interviews and such. And between the two, there's quite a few out there, but you got to know where to look, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, all right, so we can probably wrap this up. Do you have anything else you're working on or anything you'd like to talk about before we go?
Uh, just, I mean, I'm working on the novel, but you know, just one thing I'd like to say in support of other late bloomers. It's never too late to start, and it's never too late to you know, start learning something new, and to not stop learning. You know, it's been a great ride so far, and like I said, fortunately, I'm not in this to make a living because I'm old enough to be retired. So so that helps a lot, takes a lot of the pressure off. um, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter how old you are. If it's something that you feel like you want to do, go for it and just keep trying to get better.
Yeah, I'm glad you're with us, a part of the anthology, and looking forward to reading more of your stuff.
Okay, thanks,
Great.
Celine.
You're welcome. Have a great night,
Okay,
and we'll talk to you soon.
okay, good night, thanks.
Night.